Hello everyone, this is Soap here. Today we're going to be doing a ranking of the killers in Dead by Daylight that I find to be the most fun to play. Now this ranking is going to have a lot of factors included with it. If a killer's power is pretty weak, then that can contribute to how fun they are to play because it's not that fun to lose matches. But the power of the killer and how enjoyable it is to use is also going to be a contributing factor, among some other things. That being said, there's going to be some killers that you may disagree with, killers that you would love to play, and maybe some that you hate to play that I really enjoy. But it's great to have different opinions, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about my list here. A quick note to make is that I do not own the Lich, the Singularity, the Xenomorph, or the Unknown. And since I have not played these killers, they will not be included on the list. Maybe in the future, when I own those killers, I could redo this list with them included on it. But for now, we have 32 killers to rank, and I'm going to start with the first tier. And there's only two killers in this tier, and this is I hate this killer. So I only play these killers when I have a daily ritual to do or an archive challenge to complete. Otherwise, I just don't find them enjoyable to play at all, so I'll never queue up for them unless there's a reason I need to. And at the very bottom of the list is going to be the Nightmare, Freddy Krueger. Freddy is a very underwhelming killer for many reasons. He's mostly an M1 killer, and his power just isn't that fun to use. He has a lackluster teleport ability. His add-ons just suck. He doesn't have any good add-ons. Maybe a couple that you could do gimmicks with. But also he just has no cosmetics, so you can't really do anything fun with him. You have basic Freddy here and Bloody Freddy, which I got his bloody outfit, but that's all you can really get. I'd love to see them maybe add in the original Freddy, not this reboot version that we got. A lot of people enjoy the original Freddy more, and for this reason, he's just not on any. I never want to play as him, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity for a chapter that could have been great. So it's quite disappointing, but Freddy is going to be at the very bottom at number 32. The next killer that I hate to play is going to be the Twins. The Twins had a really bad launch with their chapter. It was very buggy, and to this day, it's still buggy. They've made it better, but it just doesn't feel right playing this killer. It's supposed to be really cool where you're controlling two different killers at the same time, but when you're playing as Victor, Charlotte's just asleep, standing in one space. And when you're playing as Charlotte, Victor's just standing still, ready to get kicked. It just doesn't feel like it makes sense. These two should be working together. And with the AI we have in the game, I would love to see some rework in the future where maybe when you're playing as Charlotte, Victor's able to go after some other survivors. But maybe that might be too powerful. I don't know. But regardless, they're just not an enjoyable killer for me to play. And for that reason, I never want to play as the Twins. They're going to be number 31 on my list. This moves us on to the next tier. These are killers that I dislike playing. I don't hate them. I will sometimes play as them if the mood strikes me right, but it's going to be pretty rare for me to queue up as them. And so for number 30 in the dislike tier is going to be the Dredge. The Dredge is an awesomely designed killer, very spooky, but his power, again, it's just not fun to use. It's very map dependent. If you go to Midwich on the Silent Hill map, it's great because there's lockers everywhere. And then you go to Rotten Fields, and there's just no lockers to be found. In addition to that, he just feels sluggish with his teleports, and he's so loud in Nightfall that it's hard to ever spook survivors or get a drop on them. I like what they tried to do with the Dredge. Everyone's been asking for a killer that can teleport into lockers, but the execution just really wasn't that well. And for that reason, he's going to be number 30 on the list. Moving on to number 29, we're going to have the Cannibal. I know a lot of people really enjoy playing the Cannibal, but he's just never stuck well with me. I find his power to be very boring. Essentially, you just run up to a survivor and you pull out your chainsaw, and if there's a pallet nearby, you'll chew through the pallet. If they leap a window, you're going to bump into the window, or maybe you're going to try to go around it. But really, it's just boils down to running up behind someone and possibly getting an insta down. His power doesn't feel engaging to me. They did a rework recently where it makes him a little bit better to play, but he also doesn't have many cosmetics. He's got a few cosmetics they added with the license, like the one where he looks like a grandma is great, but I just don't like Leatherface. I think his power compared to his counterpart, the Hillbilly, which we'll discuss later on the list, it's just not enjoyable to me, and I hardly play him for that reason. So the Cannibal is number 29. Moving on to number 28, we are going to have the Clown. The Clown, his power just isn't that great for me. It's nice that they add in the ability to use his bottles to speed up your movement, but ultimately it boils down to what I feel like is a pretty uninteresting power. You're just throwing a bottle to slow down survivors, and then you hit them with your weapon. And it kind of just boils down to that. There's a lot of cool cosmetics for the clown. Lots of weird things you can do, like this monkey suit I have on him. You can give him the full elephant outfit here, which is great. Uh, very, very uh, cool cosmetics, but just not a power that has ever really interested me. And so he sticks in the dislike tier. Moving on to number 27, we have the Nurse. Now, the Nurse is the most powerful killer in the game, and it has been since she's launched. If I want to dominate a match and I wanted to really learn how to play her, I could, but I find her power to be very nauseating. And it just feels like a slug, like a bore to play as her. Just with your blinks, you're constantly looking down at the ground. I feel like I get motion sickness. She moves extremely slow. Whenever you miss blinks, it feels devastating. It feels like you missed a lot of time, and the recharge speed of her blinks is really sluggish too. Everything about her feels slow, even though she can dominate matches with her ability to go around pallet loops and T-walls. She just isn't fun to me, and I hardly play her for that very reason. Moving on, we got at number 26, the Legion. The Legion is a great killer for cosmetics. Lots of stuff you can do, like this cool outfit I have here for him. But his power, Feral Frenzy, is not that engaging to me. You basically just stab one survivor, you run off to go stab another one, and then you run off to go stab another one. Recently, they did a change where if you chain 5 hits together, you'll down a survivor, but it just still isn't enough for me. He is not on the top of my list of killers that I ever really want to play, but occasionally I do get the desire to play him, but it is not that frequently. That's all for the dislike list. Moving on to the next tier, we have what I call this killer is okay. And the first one on this list is going to be the Pig. The Pig is pretty fun to play sometimes. You have a nice ability with her reverse bear trap. There's some cool add-ons you can use to make it so that they're more lethal, and potentially popping a survivor's head is always enjoyable. But her overall ability with her dash attack just doesn't feel that great to me. The Pig kind of feels like a jack of all trades, but a master of none to me. She's got some stealth, but there's other killers that have better stealth than her. She has her dash, but the Hillbilly and the Oni have better dashes and more lethal dashes. She kind of feels like she does a little bit of everything, but nothing that makes me want to play her because she doesn't excel at anything, except for maybe slowing down the game with reverse bear traps. But the traps are fun enough that I do want to play her sometimes. So for that reason, she'll stay at number 25 on our list. Moving on to the next one, we have the Cenobite at number 24. The Cenobite can have some really cool plays with his chain hunt ability and with the ability where you send your chain out for his power to get survivors. But it can be really hard to aim, and there's really no benefit of using it at a long range. And that's the biggest thing I would love to see for the Cenobite is skillful plays being rewarded for long-range chain strikes. In addition, the Lament configuration sometimes just feels like an afterthought to me. Sometimes I go entire matches where it's never picked up by me or a survivor. But he still has a lot of good things going for him. He has one of the coolest Moris in the game. And for that reason alone, sometimes I want to just run Devour Hope on him. But he still isn't in the list of killers that I quite enjoy to play, so he'll stay at number 24. On to 23, we have the Knight. The Knight can be fun sometimes with the ability to have guards chase after survivors, but the AI on the guards really isn't the best. And sometimes that can be really frustrating with him. It feels like when you're playing with the guards, sometimes they can do great plays, and other times it feels like you're playing with someone that just got the game yesterday. The AI can just be ridiculous sometimes. And that can cause him to be feeling quite frustrating. He did get a rework recently where you can now choose which guards you want to send out, which adds a bit more versatility to his kit. But ultimately, his chase ability isn't that fun to me. But he does have some cool cosmetics. I like his theme a lot. I've always wanted to have a medieval character in the game. So for that reason, sometimes I still want to play him. He can be enjoyable, but he's kind of right in the middle of the list almost. And so he'll be at number 23. At number 22, we have the Onyro. The Onyro has a really cool ability with her power being able to instantly kill survivors after they've stacked up enough condemned. But her chase potential feels pretty lackluster. Most experienced survivors are going to know when you're manifested or when you're demanifested. She doesn't get a boost of speed after demanifesting like the Wraith does after uncloaking. So if you get at a pallet loop with a survivor that really knows how to work around it, there's not much you can do. Her teleporting can catch people off guard sometimes, but ultimately she's a little spooky, but as you can see, but she doesn't really strike me as someone that is very enjoyable to play all the time. But I do like to pick her up sometimes, so for that reason, the Onyro is going to be at number 22. Number 21, we have the first killer of the game, the Trapper. The Trapper can be really rewarding sometimes if you put down a bear trap at just the right place and you catch a survivor off guard. Cheeky traps like that can be really great. But his power feels very outdated, and I really would like to see a rework that can push him to the next level. He feels like a fossil that's lost in time, but with the original killer of the game, sometimes you want to just throw out some bear traps and see if you can just have a huge snowball effect. So sometimes I will play as the Trapper. On the next list, we're moving on to killers that I identify as fun to play. These are killers that I'll pick up and switch and rotate between other killers. And we still have about 20 or more killers to go, so it is good that most of the killers in the game I do enjoy to play. At number 20 on our list, we have the Trickster. The Trickster has a really cool ability with his knives. It's fun to play as, but I hate playing against it. But as a killer, it is quite fun to get behind someone's back and just pelt knives into their torso or their legs, and just even with the ricochet ability he has on his add-on, I always use this Ricochet ability. It's just chaos when you're playing as him, and the best kind of chaos. Uh, but he is a little more lower on the list because there's a lot more killers that I enjoy more than the Trickster. But I'll still pick him up quite a few times, and I like to enjoy his flamboyance. He's a very sassy man, and he likes to laugh every time he downs someone, so it can be quite enjoyable when you're playing as him sometimes. At number 19, we go on to the Executioner. I'm a huge Silent Hill fan, so Pyramid Head is always going to be a killer that I enjoy to play. His power, unfortunately, isn't that great against experienced players. Trails of Torment feels like it happens very infrequently for people to be tormented, so I don't even get to use his cage ability that much. But his Punishment of the Damned ability is really satisfying when it goes through walls and hits a whole group of survivors, or when you're able to time it just right to really get a nice hit on someone. And he's just so awesome. I mean, as a Silent Hill fan, this dude has a giant knife. He's very imposing as a presence on the map. Just hearing the great knife drag along the ground is fantastic to hear when I'm playing as a survivor against him. And I was so hyped when they announced this chapter that he continues to be a killer that I enjoy to play. At number 18 on our list, we go to the Hag. The Hag, it feels like to me when I play as the Hag that I either completely get dominated by the survivor team or I completely wipe out the survivor team. There's no in between. I either get 0 kills or I get 4 kills. She's very hit or miss, but when her ability does work, when I got traps getting set off left and right, and I'm teleporting, hitting someone and downing them, and I go and teleport and hit someone again, it can just be so much fun when that chaos is just spewing all over the place. She's got some really overpowered add-ons that I'm surprised haven't been nerfed yet. But when you use those, they can be quite fun because of how strong they are. So that's what makes Hag stay at number 18 for me on the list. Move on to number 17. What a lot of people would say is one of the most balanced killers in the game is the Demogorgon. I'm a huge Stranger Things fan. Demogorgon is a pleasure to play. His portals are really cool. I love the upside down and how they implemented that into this game. And his shred ability is great. It just has this beast-like ferocity to it. And I've gotten lots of great matches with him where I've just completely dominated the survivor team. And I've also had many compliments with him where every time that people get killed by a Demogorgon, most of the time they say that they could find a fault in what they did. He feels balanced on both sides, and that's impressive because there's a lot of killers that don't feel that way. So he's definitely higher on the list for me, and I enjoy playing him. He's got some cool cosmetics. I hope that we get to see some more cosmetics when we get the next season of Stranger Things on Netflix. So that's what, for me, what keeps Demogorgon at number 17. So then we go on to number 16 on the list, which is going to be the Nemesis. The Nemesis has a really fun ability with his tentacle whip, and he just has this dominating presence when he's stomping around the map, and he's got his loud boots hitting the ground. He's a huge man, a huge beast, just tearing apart survivor teams. He's got this weird stuff pumping through his body here, wrapped in black leather. It's just a crazy looking guy. I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan, so I don't know a lot about him, but he's great to play. The only downside about him is that the zombies can be hit or miss. They really are a non-factor that you can control. And sometimes you'll get downs off them, and sometimes you're playing the game and they feel like they're getting in your way. So I try to just ignore that part of his kit, because really the best part about him is using that tentacle strike, just shredding through pallets and getting some nice hits when you flick that tentacle in just the right direction. So that's what keeps the Nemesis at number 16 for me. Then we go on to number 15 on the list, and that is the Artist. The Artist, I originally did not like her at all, But then when I realized that I really wasn't playing her right, she became quite enjoyable for me. The artist has the potential to get hits from across the map, just like Huntress, if you know how to use her crows right. Her theme of just having ink, just like coming out of missing limbs, is so cool. I never thought they could turn an artist into a killer, but they did it with her, and she's got some cool cosmetics to boot. Her creepy noises she makes like that are great. Her theme with the crows, also great. I think that was a genius move with how much crows we have on the map already. She feels like she naturally fits in the game. And yeah, so that's for me what keeps the artist at number 15. Great killer to play, but there's quite a few more that I do enjoy more. So we go on to number 14, and now we trail back to the Hillbilly. I've never been super great with the Hillbilly. If I was, he'd probably be a little higher on the list for me. However, I still love playing him. When you go into overdrive mode and you're just flying across the map with the chainsaw, it's like a power trip all by itself. He's very, very fun to play. I kind of wish he had some better add-ons, but I do kind of think that if they gave him like even slightly better add-ons, they could start leaning in the direction of being overpowered. But it's just because his base kit is already so good. I've never been great at like aiming the chainsaw or flicking it or doing my turns in just the right way where I could be a Billy main. But man, he's got some cool outfits. I wish his Mori would be updated, just like the Trapper and the Wraiths. They're a bit old. They need a rework. Other than that, though, wow, what a killer! He's been pretty fun since the release of his chapter, the third chapter in the game, and he still holds up to this day. Going on to number 13, we have probably our first major stealth killer, the Ghostface. The Ghostface is great to play if you just want to go in for that pure stealth approach. The stalking on him is fantastic. Uh, I mean, he used to be really bad to play because the revealing option for the survivors was just so finicky, and you would get revealed so easily. But it feels like they've done a good job at tweaking that, where it's not so much noticeable anymore. Usually, when I get revealed as the ghost face, it feels like it was my fault. I wasn't hiding right, and the ghost face really just makes you feel like that stalker. But there's one killer that does make you feel like a better stalker, and I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Number 12 on the list for me for enjoyment is going to be the Shape, Michael Myers. Michael Myers, I mean, I love the Halloween franchise. This dude's scary as hell. Uh, he feels fantastic when you're stalking survivors. His kit is a bit weak. I think the Ghostface is stronger than him, but the theme of Michael Myers just feels better to me. The music that plays when you tear up, when you hit tier 3, and you're insta downing people left and right. He's got cool add-ons with the tombstone where you can instantly mori people. He's even got Scratch Mirror Myers where you can go on treatment theater and scare the crap out of people. He's the initial jump scare killer from the game, and I still like to play him that way. I mean, just look at the blood dripping off his knife. He doesn't have many cosmetics, but man, you don't need much with Myers. He's already a presence by himself. So that's what puts Myers at number 12 for me. And then we go on to number 11, which is going to be the Blight. The Blight is just he's just chaos. That's the best way I can describe him. He's just ping-ponging left and right off of a tree, into a wall, into a rock. He feels sporadic. His movement is erratic, and that is fun to play as because as survivors, you don't know what to do against him a lot of the time because he's just going all over the place. He's got a cool theme. His jaws just hanging out of his mouth from these transformations he's done with the serum he's injecting to himself. Man, what a cool concept for a killer. He's got some broken add-ons which need to be reworked. They've already done a few reworks on his add-ons, but there's still a lot of broken add-ons he has. His base kit's really good. He's just a blast to play, and we're really getting towards the part of the list where I'm really starting to enjoy these killers and I play them quite frequently. So we go on to number 10 in the top 10, which is going to be the Oni. Now, the Oni, to me, just feels like an upgraded Hillbilly. I love everything about the Oni. The only thing I probably don't like about him is how at the beginning of the game he just doesn't have a power. You have to injure people first, otherwise he doesn't have any option of anything else to use really. But man, when you get that blood fury going and he roars just like that, perfect. He's so cool. Like a fury. That's all you can describe him as is fury and anger and rage. And when you're smashing people with your Cannibal, I probably butchered the pronunciation for that. Your big studded club on his back. It's awesome. He's got one of the coolest Moris in the game. Some great cosmetics too. The Oni's a blast to play, so that's what puts him at number 10 for me. On number 9, we got the good guy, Chucky. Chucky is one of the coolest implementations of a licensed killer in the game. The fact that he plays from a third-person view is unique. His dash ability is fun to use. His scamper ability is fun to use. His Charles Lee Ray picking him up when you're carrying survivors. What a cool concept. I didn't think they could make him into the game successfully, but the devs actually did it, and he is great. And he's got everything you could want with his cosmetics. You can play as Tiffany. You got stitched up Chucky here. I mean, like, I can't believe they did it, but yeah, Chucky is a great killer to play. I mean, that's what puts him at number 9 for me. There's only a few more that I would enjoy more than him. So going on to number 8, we have the Doctor. The Doctor has such a creepy aesthetic about him. All of his outfits, just this smile and stitches and things poking at his brain, tubes sticking out of him. He's a madman, just shocking people, causing hallucinations. You really can get into the spirit of playing the Doctor when you're playing as him, shocking people left and right. I mean, there's a reason why uh, a lot of Doctor players, they'll just continue shocking people even after they've already hit Madness 3 because you just keep wanting to hear the survivor scream. He's just a blast to play because of how much craziness he brings to the match. He's got some really broken combinations with his terror radius causing skill checks to go backwards and appear in different parts of the screen. It's super annoying when you're playing as a survivor against him for that reason, but when you're playing as a doctor and you're seeing failed skill checks going off left and right, it kind of makes you laugh a little bit, just like the doctor would. So the madness he brings to the party is really cool, and that's what brings the doctor to number 8 for me. Then we go on to number 7, and that is going to be the plague. The plague is another killer that I didn't enjoy that much initially. I really didn't like playing her at first, and it took me a while to warm up to her. But when I figured out how to play her right, she's great. I mean, the fact that you can always have something going on where you're spitting on a generator or totem causing infection. The infection spreads to other survivors. When they unhook other survivors that are infected at maximum, they get infected as well. It really feels like you're the plague. You're just bringing sickness all over the map. And then when you get the corrupt purge, man, what a cool concept where you could just got this like this stream of toxicity of vomit or whatever you want to call it that's just going over pallets. You can just spray that stuff everywhere and manage to hit people in ways you didn't think possible. She's got some good add-ons like the one her ultra rare that where you can see the auras of people vomiting. Combine that with some other perks and it can be deadly with like the stuff you can do with her. She's awesome. She's got great cosmetics too. There's one set that I really want to pick up right now that I haven't had a chance to because I just don't have the orc cells for it yet. But I'm definitely going to get it at some point because she's among one of my favorite killers. And then we go on to number 6 on the list, which is going to be the Mastermind, Albert Wesker. I hate playing against Wesker, and there's for one reason why is because he's strong. He's a good killer. He's extremely fun to play as, with his ability to dash forward and just throw survivors or smash them into a wall. He's got ferocity to him, and he's got a presence. His chase music, oh my god, probably the best chase music in the game. That alone is just one reason to play as him. The dude's just straight cool. Wearing sunglasses indoors, wherever he goes, he's a blast to play. He's got some good add-ons. Not great add-ons, but enough where it makes a difference in your play. He's definitely a licensed killer that I was surprised to find how much I enjoyed him, because I didn't think they could implement him into the game right, but they did it, and he's up there with the best for me. And then we go on to number 5, which is going to be the Huntress. The Huntress is a timeless classic for Dead by Daylight. When you're doing those cross-map hatchet throws and you get that hit at just the right time, it just feels great. Or just throwing hatchets around a loop in a way that you hit survivors where they didn't think you could hit them that way. She's very similar to my most favorite killer in the game, which we'll get to in a second here. But her hatchets just have a great way of changing the matchup, where you can really continue to improve with her endlessly. She's got a huge skill cap, and great cosmetics too. I mean, this bear outfit here I got with her, I always like to try and see what her eyes look like, but you never can quite make them out. She's been a great addition since the beginning of the game, and I'll continue to enjoy playing her. Moving on to the next tier, the last 4 killers we have to go over, and I call this tier, I love these killers. These killers are mains for me. I would consider these my top 4 mains that I pretty much put a lot of blood points into and a lot of matches that I play with them. And we go on to number 4 on the list, and that's going to be the Wraith. The Wraith used to be my main, and that was all I played was the Wraith. I think he is not a fun killer for some people, but for me, he's always stuck right with me. His ability to just sneak up on people with his cloaking has always been fun to me. He's got good add-ons that can make him powerful. Maybe something just clicking right with me for him, but I don't lose very often with him. I seem to really get a good benefit from playing him. He feels powerful to me. He's got cool cosmetics. I like how he's got this skinny appearance. It's unsettling to me. And I feel like if he was actually larger and buffer, it wouldn't be as good. They did a good job designing this killer. And for being the second killer they ever made, he's an all-star for me. And I'll always play him. He's going to be one of my mains probably till the end of the game, whenever that happens, if it ever happens. And we go on to number 3 on the list, a recent addition that I hated to play against, but my goodness, I love to play as her. And that's the Skull Merchant. The Skull Merchant, I used to hate her, and over time, she's become one of my favorites. I was shocked more than anyone else, because I thought I wouldn't like this girl, but she's so fun to play as right now. She really makes you feel like an expert tracker, like you're an actual predator, setting out drones, tracking people with your radar. So cool. And she's just strong to me. I win a lot of my matches with her, probably because I played with her a lot, so I understand how to play as her. But with her undetectable ability, when she puts down drones, you get a lot of cool surprise hits off generators. She's starting to get some cool cosmetics too. She continues to be a killer that surprises me with how much I enjoy her. And she's in the top 3 at number 3 for me for that reason. On number 2, the last 2 here, we have the Spirit. The Spirit used to be my main after the Wraith. She's still one of my mains today, but not my top tier main, the one that I play a lot of. But I put a lot of hours into the Spirit. She's extremely fun to play. Her ability to phase people. If you got good headphones like I do, you can hear survivors breathing in the tiniest of corners. She's just a spooky looking character. Like when she first came out, I was terrified of her with her animations, her bones cracking, the way that her limbs are floating, her toe is like curled around her other foot. I mean, everything about her is creepy. The glass that's sticking out of her thigh, a mastercrafted concept of a killer, executed perfectly, and among what I think will always be one of the best killers in this game. But for number one, my all-time favorite killer, the Deathslinger. Boy, oh boy, do I love the Deathslinger. There's something about this undead cowboy which has a really intimidating presence for me when I'm playing against him. And he's also one of my favorite killers to play against. I think he is probably the best chapter that they have ever released in this game. And I know that's probably not an opinion a lot of people share, but his power of just shooting people and having the camera face towards him and you're reeling them in slowly, and then when you hit them and he just laughs in their face, he's just got cool cosmetics. I'm just smiling ear to ear talking about him. Like he's got one of the coolest powers in the game. How you can just like thread a shot through a tiny crack in the wall and still manage to hit someone. And end game chat, they're calling you a cheater or a hacker, and it's just the stuff you can do with him is unlimited. And he might not be the strongest, but by God, is he the most fun to play for me. And that is probably going to wrap up my list there. Um, if you guys want to see more content like this, please let me know. I could do another tier list on the strengths of the killer, but I think a lot of people agree on the strength of killers. So I got other ideas. We could do a tier list for which killers are the most attractive. Uh, the limits are endless. So I'm glad that I can make this video for you guys today, and I'll go ahead and end things out here with my favorite killer playing his Mori, and so we can see Deathslinger winning the victory toss.